On. All right. Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to our friends online. Whether you're joining us live or later in your week, we're glad you're with us. So I'd like to invite you all to join me in our opening prayer. We come together on this gorgeous sunny day to be in community, to share in the energy, the vibration, the frequency of love and gratitude. Knowing that the message that Reverend Madge will share today, the experience of her vision quest, will have an aspect that will resonate with each of us, that there will be a message or a lesson there for us. We affirm that we continue to receive blessings in our lives. May the light that each of us carry be felt deep within our souls and shine bright into our world. Amen. Amen. All right, turn the podium over to Reverend Madge.
All right. Thank you so much. We had to do a little reboot, so we're a little slow coming online, but it's all good. All right. One thing I've learned during Vision Quest is everything matters. Doesn't matter what's happening. Once you commit, So at the beginning of June, I went on my second Vision Quest, and it was at a large farm up in the Rainier, Oregon area that we did the Vision Quest, me and one other gentleman. And I went up prior to the Vision Quest itself, the week prior, just to stay the night, camp out, get a feel for the land, pick out my spot, and get a feel for what the temperatures are like at night. And come to find out, it's 10 degrees cooler up there than it is down here. And so I was really glad that I went up because the nights are much cooler. So when you make a commitment to something like a Vision Quest or any other kind of really sacred ceremony, once you make that commitment, Spirit goes to work. And Spirit says, okay, it's go time. And everything that happens starts having meaning. They start orchestrating what experiences you're going to have. What is it that you need for the intentions that you're setting for what is next in your growth and development? And it's really a beautiful thing to just kind of drop into your heart and know that whatever is taking place in your life has purpose and meaning, not just a random happenstance. It might seem like it, but once you commit, there's a purpose in everything that happens. Well, in getting ready for Vision Quest, it takes a while to prepare. You got to prepare your mind, your body, your spirit. And in the tradition that I'm going under, we have prayer ties to make and gifts to share when we get done with all of our supporters. And so there's a lot of thought that goes into the whole process. It takes time. And you need that time to prepare, your mind, body, and spirit. So there were two of us, as I said, going up on Vision Quest on the farm. And I'll call the other person my partner. And I was really honored. He was my Vision Quest partner. And I was really honored to go out and be in that sacred space with him while he was having his personal Vision Quest experience and I'm having mine. We were kind of in the same vicinity on the farm, but far enough away from each other that we didn't hear or see each other at all. But it was comforting to know that there was another person up there in the vicinity having the shared experience. Well, everyone in camp, so there's a main camp, and everybody in camp stays there, and they support the people that are out on Vision Quest. And that morning of our Vision Quest, the sacred fire was started in the area. There's a sweat lodge, and then the sacred fire, and it has all the stones in it, so that we can be purified in the sweat lodge before we go out. So we had the sacred fire going that morning. And what was beautiful and then that sacred fire is kept going 24 hours a day for the whole duration of time that we're out there. And it's really special to know that that's going on. And they use the sacred fire as a telephone, in a sense. They send messages, connect in with the people that are out there through the fire. They put food into the fire so that we're not hungry, or they eat it themselves and energetically send it. And I tell you, it works. I was only hungry one time. And for that one time, I was hungry for an apple. And then a few minutes later, I wasn't even hungry for an apple. I didn't get hungry the whole time, and neither did my partner Pedro. And anyway, what was I saying about the apple? Oh yeah, the apple. So when I got back, I said, "Hey, was anybody hungry for an apple?" And or did anybody eat an apple? And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Thank you," because I felt very satisfied. They said, "Did I eat that for you?" And I said, "You sure did." So it was really special. Well, the supporters, there were enough supporters through the duration of the time to have two people at all times supporting that fire. And they have a schedule, and there's somebody sitting at that fire 24 hours a day. And Cheryl has been, where's Cheryl? She's been my number one supporter on both Vision Quests, and I so appreciate her. And went up this time and stayed. She wasn't there on the day I went out, but for the rest of the duration of the time, and is such a strong supporter. And she has her own. Every supporter has their own beautiful experiences of supporting, because the whole thing is sacred. So the supporters all have their own experiences of spirit and consciousness. And I really appreciated David also, because he lit a candle for me both times. He lit a candle for me, and it stayed lit the whole time that I was out as well. And there was one day that I had a kerfuffle in my life, which I'll be talking about. And David and Dina could see from the candle that things were going strange for me. And they said, something's happening with Madge. The candle's not burning right. But that's the beauty of how everything is so connected in that type of a ceremony, if we pay attention to it, everything is connected. Because they had the intention. The intention was to light the candle for me, and it was connected to me, and it was helping support my sacred space and my sacred journey. And then the candle reflected what was happening. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. It's quite amazing. Well, in the morning that we were going to go out, the elk herd that was off in the distance was bugling. So that was quite an omen. We could hear them all morning out there just carrying on. And it's like, oh my goodness, are they going to come in and visit us? But I never saw them, but we could sure hear them off into the distance. It was the only time we heard them in the duration of time we were out there. But we were pretty excited about it. Well, we had the sacred fire. The stones were in there heating up in the morning. They finally got red hot so that we could go into the sweat lodge and get, as they called it, dusted off. It had to be dusted off of the energies to purify us to be able to go out. And during that period of time, once you step into the sweat lodge to be dusted off, then you're stepping into the spirit world metaphorically. And nobody's supposed to talk to you because you're in another realm. And so if we have an exchange with each other, we're supposed to talk to the spirit world, to the person over here. And it was very confusing to me the first time. I thought, are you kidding me? They're standing right there. Can I just talk to them? But I kind of got used to it this time. And this time I'm like, okay, Madge, let's just do this the right way. And I still didn't do very good. It's like, they're standing right there. Anyway, but it has a really special purpose in it, and it's to start separating you from the material world, from the third dimension, so that you're stepping into the spirit world for your duration of your vision quest. Well, while we were tending the fire, getting it ready for our dusting off, there were two hawks circling overhead, and one of the hawks had a snake in its talons, quite a long snake. So we're looking up and we see these hawks just going around, and then one of them had this, it was a pretty long snake compared to the size of the hawk. It's like, wow, that is significant. And to me, thinking of the snake, on the ground, it doesn't ever get off the ground. And yet it feels the earth, and it's so connected to the earth. Every scale on its belly is sensing the vibrations of the earth. And here it is up there soaring with the hawk, who has the broad view, the big vision of the environment, and seeing things from that high place. And both the snake and the hawk were up there. And so it was very significant. We were quite taken back by that. Well, so we did our dusting off, came back out of the sweat lodge, got ready we went up to our locations, both of us. And the people came up with us to help us set the space and help lay the prayer ties down. Once the prayer ties are laid on the ground, that's the space you stay in for the duration of the time, with the exception of one potty. So everybody was helping me lay my prayer ties down, but there's a lot of confusion about which direction to go, where to start, and then they got laid down in the wrong direction. Certain colors need to go to the east, south, west, and north, and it got laid down crooked. So that was kind of significant. When I thought about it later, I thought, why was there so much confusion around just laying down the prayer ties? And I think it's because I have been wanting to understand the directions better. I've been asking to, I've been trying to get myself to sit down and just do more research and really understand the directions. So there's confusion within me in my understanding. I don't have clarity in the understanding of the directions. I kind of do in a general overview, but not in a deep way. And I think that was represented in the confusion of the prayer ties being laid down. Once you're in ceremony, everything matters. Everything has a meaning. So there was that part of the journey of clarifying the confusion. And I share that with you because, sometimes we can get really upset about things not going right or somebody messes things up for us because part of the confusion was another person thinking it should be a different way. But it was still reflecting me, not them. It was my altar space. It was my prayer ties. It was my energetic journey. And there was a lot of confusion, even from other people. It's still part of the experience, it's still part of me. So I had to really take a look at that. And I'm still processing what that is. So then after I settled in for the day or for the duration of the time, I'm sitting in my space and the conditions were so good. The weather was good and the time of year was really perfect for me as well. And I realized I'm in this space with all these flowers. There's an elderberry tree and there's bleeding hearts on the ground and there's stinging nettle over there with its blossoms. And what other blossoms did I have? Oh, wild cucumber was crawling all over the place. Yes, and the hummingbirds came through to feast on all of it. And I thought, man, this is like a little fairy tale world. Little chipmunk comes through. I saw it. It visited me every day. And I thought, this couldn't be better. I'm really grateful that it was such a pleasant environment. I'm under the canopy of the trees and I can't really hear the creek that's down there, but I know it's there. That's why the environment was so thick, because it was well watered. So I'm sitting there and just taking it in, saying my prayers, feeling the deep appreciation and the gratitude for the opportunity to do this. And the deep gratitude for the supporters that are staying at the main camp and supporting us as we're out there. It's kind of overwhelming in a way to have that kind of unconditional support from people. It's like, man, I better do this good because I don't want their efforts to be wasted. Yeah, don't screw it up because everybody puts so much into it. So anyway, the environment was just beautiful. But on that first day, I was just spend my time enjoying the environment, praying, meditating, opening my heart, and consciously connecting and listening to my spiritual council that I call grandmothers. There is a grandfather in that bunch, but I call the bunch of them the grandmothers because I'm not sure what else to call them. And they were, as my overseer told me later, she said they were right there the whole time. Every time she checked in intuitively, they were just like right there, almost hovering. It's like, sweet, I know I'm in good shape. Well, before I went up, Richard over here, he told me that he was sending protective energy around me. And one of the things that he saw, or the thing that he saw, was the dragon as my protector while I was up there. Well, in that first night, as the sun was setting and the shadows were starting to come in, I looked over at an old rotten stump that was only about this tall, an old rotten stump that was beside me, just on the other side of my altar space. And as the shadows came in, it was a dragon face. And I looked at that and I thought, I'll be darned. Isn't that fun? It had two rotted holes that were the eyes. It had two pieces of wood that went straight up on each side. And in the shadows, it was like its ears or its little horns. Could be either one. And it looks like the sweetest, wisest, friendliest old dragon, with its little, all of the rotted wood and the moss was hanging in a little nose. And it was incredible. I drew a picture of it so that I wouldn't forget what it looked like. And I thought, there it is. And Richard saw it, called it in, and it showed up for me. So it just made me feel really safe and really happy to know that it was sitting right there beside me. And then that night, actually, then I woke up. I got woke up about 11 o'clock with women's voices, one of which was my daughter's. And she had driven up there. She drove the 2 hours up there to tell me that she was really feeling like my sister was going to need me because her husband was in his last stages of life. And she thought it was going to happen that night. So my daughter was real worried about my sister having adequate support. And I just thought, man, I want to start what I finished here. It just doesn't feel right to quit at this point. So I told her I was staying, and she left, and I just sat up praying. You don't sleep after that. You just don't go back to a cozy sleep. So I sat up and I'm praying about it, and I keep hearing the Spirit say, go. But then when I would think about gathering up my stuff, I could not see myself gathering up my stuff and quitting. So then all of a sudden it occurred to me after a time, what if I just go for a little while and then I come back and just go home, make sure things are supported appropriately, do what I can. So here I am at now 1 o'clock in the morning, talking to my overseer and saying, what if I just go home for a little while and then I come back? I stay in ceremony, I stay fasting, and take care of business and see how things really are. And then I come back. She says, yeah, you can do that. So I did. 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm headed home. I get home at 3, and by 3 o'clock, things have kind of settled down and nobody really needed me. So I slept for a few hours, got over to my sister's house about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning to start helping in whatever way and assess the situation. So I did. I helped in every way that I could, got things kind of settled, supported the ways that needed to be supported, and then I started feeling an anxiety to get back. But the challenge was staying in ceremony, staying in that sacred mindset when you're facing a family crisis, when you're facing I-5 traffic, coming home and staying fasting when you're grocery shopping for the family. I ran to the store and got stuff that, would support them for a few days. And and I thought, man, this is challenging, and being so mindful of my words. What am I saying? Because I'm in ceremony right now. I'm still in ceremony. So what are the words I'm putting out there? And it was a challenge. I did pretty good. I didn't do stellar. The grandmothers made sure I knew that. But I did pretty good. And so it was a great lesson for me of staying in ceremony, staying in sacred space in the face of life events. So I got back home about 3 in the afternoon. I left Salem here at 1, got back about 3 in the afternoon. So I was actually gone for 14 hours. When I got back, they allowed me to chatter and decompress a little bit, and then I went back into the sweat lodge to be purified again, to get back into that sacred space, to get back into the spirit world, and into a space that I was ready to step back into my altar space. So I did that, and then I come out of there, and they're whacking me with the eagle wing, brushing off the rest of the stuff in my aura. It was not painfully, of course, but man, they whacked hard. It's like, man, I came back with some stuff, didn't they? They said, yeah, you sure did. So it was a little lesson there, but it was really good. And it felt good to step back into it, knowing that was taken care of. That needed to be taken care of so that I could come back and really settle in and let everything go. So good lesson. That was what I was going to say. So all of it became a part of my ceremony. Driving home, coming home, being in family crisis became a part of my ceremony. Spirit made that all happen for my growth and development. So it was good. And the next morning, so then I went back to my altar space, settled in, did what I was doing before. The next morning, I was saying my morning prayers, and I was doing some drumming, singing the Cherokee morning song. And the camp also sang the Cherokee morning song to us every morning as well. I could hear them off in the distance. It was beautiful. And as I stepped out from my canopy of trees, just to kind of breathe the morning sun and see the sun and engage with it, the sun showed me this amazing relationship that he has with the mother earth. And I realized that it is the most beautiful love story I have ever heard, I've ever seen. And these solar flares that we experience as victims, we, oh my God, the solar flares, watch out. Oh, it messes up your brain. Communication is going to mess up. Oh, it's happening because of the solar flares. Anything going wrong, we blame it on solar flares. I realized that those are the precious gifts from the Father Son to the Mother. He's giving of his life force, he's giving of his support, the very essence of life for the mother and their creation, which is all of us, which is everything, so that we can elevate. It's like she needs another boost of energy because she's going through this process. We are going through this process. We're elevating, we're ascending, we're coming into higher vibrational frequencies. And that sacred divine Father is sending life force to her, to us, to use to help elevate us. And if we get cattywampus because of it, it means there's something we're not in alignment with. There's something we need to work through. There's something we need to let go of. We need to grow from it, not be victimized by it, because it's the gift of love. It's the ultimate love story of these two planets and a whole bunch more, but they only showed me Earth and Sun, spiraling through the universe together, having these amazing creations of human and life and plants and everything that we see. And it was just beautiful. It just kind of brought me to my knees to understand that amazing, beautiful love story. I'll never hear about a solar flare the same. I will always receive it as a gift. And if something happens and it throws me off, it's me, not that. I need to come into alignment with it. I need to elevate. And I hope that we all can do that. We can all step into higher ground when those things happen. And there's another big blast coming our way. And I hope we can just stand there and receive it. That energy from the Divine Father. It's so beautiful. Yeah. I'm barely reading my notes, but I don't want to miss important things. So I'm scanning real quick again for what I might have missed. Oh, and then that afternoon, I stepped out from the canopy again and I looked up and there were the two hawks circling again, but this time the snake was in its beak. It found another snake and this time it was in the beak rather than the talons. And so they were circling around with the snake again. And I thought, man, I kept waiting for them to land in the tree and eat their dinner, but it was more symbolic and more significant to supporting us as we were on our vision quest. So that was very powerful and very meaningful. Well, later in the day, I asked the grandmothers, am I meeting your expectations? And they said yes and no. And I said, oh, okay. So how am I not meeting your expectations? And I heard them say, we want you to pray more. It's like, oh, okay. Guess I just can't lay back on my sleeping bag and enjoy the beautiful scenery anymore. I had got to do some work. So I had rolled up my sleeping bag because sitting on the ground is really hard for me. I am not made for it. I didn't, it's not my culture to sit on the ground. We sit in chairs. So anyway, sitting on the ground for any length of time is hard. So I rolled up my sleeping bag, put my big poncho on top, put my pillow on top. I made myself a little stool and I'm sitting on that. And I hear the grandmother say, get off your throne. And I had established a little area on the ground down that was just on dirt with a towel that I sat on to pray usually, because my sleeping bag was on a tarp. Well, plastic disconnects you from the earth, and so does synthetic fibers. So my sleeping bag, of course, is synthetic. And so anyway, they wanted me off my throne and to get down there on the ground and pray. I thought, oh, you guys are funny. I finally realized they had humor. I've never heard humor out of them before. So that was fun. Okay, off your throne you go. I got down on the towel, sat on the ground and said my prayers. So that was fun. And then later, as I was doing prayers again, I tried to have this ritual of saying prayers for a little while and then stopping and giving myself a rest and go back at them. Later, I was saying my prayers again, and I started to notice these things in my aura that were barriers and blocks to the intentions I had set to go out there with, at what I wanted to accomplish. And so I know my angelic realm is always helping us. We all know that. We always have a group of angelic beings helping us at all times. So I employed them to help me get rid of these things in my aura. And it took a lot of work. Every time I thought, okay, we're done. Whew, got that one cleared out. Then there was another one that showed up. And then another. So there's about 4 or 5 biggies and quite a few smaller ones. So I got all done working with that, working through all of those. And I felt pretty good about my accomplishments. And I was tired by then. The evening was starting to come. The wind was picking up. It was getting cold. And so I crawled early. I made an early entry into my sleeping bag, partly to stay warm and partly because I was tired. And as I crawled into my sleeping bag and was, starting to kind of go to sleep, I saw in my mind's eye this woman being come in from the southeast corner of my altar space, and I heard her say, "I'll finish cleaning her aura." And she was talking to the beings on the other side of my altar space. And I thought, wait, she didn't ask for permission. Is that okay? And so I asked the grandmother, is that okay? And they said yes. So then I don't know what she did, but pretty soon my arm jerked and my leg jerked. And I just, it's like, okay, surrender into this. This is what we're here to do. This is the work we came to do. So I jerked around a little bit here, a little bit there, and pretty soon it stopped. It's like, okay, I guess I'm clean. You don't have to take a shower when you go out there. You just have to surrender to the process and you get clean in a whole different way. So anyway, it got done and I was trying to go to sleep. I had had a couple of naps that day, so I wasn't that sleepy. But I'm trying to go to sleep and I saw the letters right over here on my right. It said SLEEP, sleep. It's like, I'm trying to get to sleep. I had a sense of urgency to go to sleep. So, of course, once you're told to go to sleep, can you do it? So I was like, I'm trying. And then after a few minutes of trying, over here came the voice, and the voice said, sleep. The High Council is waiting. I thought, oh, no pressure. Thanks. Now I can really go to sleep. Okay. Who are they? The High Council is waiting. So it's like, okay. So I did finally go to sleep. And I have no idea what happened while I was sleeping, but I have sleep apnea and I sleep with a CPAP machine. So I don't have a CPAP machine out there. There's no electrical plug outlet to plug one in. So I wake up periodically to breathe. And so I woke up really fast to breathe. I think it was about an hour into my sleep. And so I woke up really fast. Well, in the fast waking up, I was still at the table at the High Council meeting. And I heard one being say to the other being, well, she's going to go out and see if they do that at other planets. And it wasn't me. I wasn't going to go out to other planets. They were talking about somebody else that was there. Well, she's going to go to other planets. She's going to go to other planets and see if they do it that way there. I thought, what? And so I felt like I must have been reporting in about what we were doing down here. And now somebody else is going to go check on other planets to see if they do it that way there too. Huh? Yeah, like schools, learning schools, who knows what. Yeah. So I just thought, that is so interesting. But I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have heard it if I didn't wake up so quick. But, when you're suffocating, you wake up quick. So there's an advantage to that. So that's anyway, so that was very interesting. And then I asked the grandmothers, was I asleep long enough? And they said yes. And so then I had a good night's sleep for the rest of the night. And then the next morning I was done. I had a few other lessons in there too that I'm still processing and working through. And so some other time in the future I might share some of those. But these are the ones that I felt called to share with people because I feel like they're really good learning opportunities for everybody in these kinds of experiences. We don't know where we go when we go to sleep, and I don't have any idea who the High Council is. Different channels, different people have different versions of what that might be. I have no idea, but I reported into duty. That much I'm convinced of, whatever it was. and then they're going to go check it out. So I want to have Cheryl come up and share some of her experience as a support person, because every time she comes away with like, wow, that was so good. And in the future, if anybody wants to come up and be a support person, you are very welcome to do that, because it's a beautiful experience.
Hey. Well, I am so delighted to get to share a little bit. You know, this is an amazing woman, and this chance to be able to go out and be with her and support her. And this is the second time. I just went one night last time, but I went a few nights. And I don't know if she actually said 4 days and 3 nights with no food and very little water. So as you're starting to see things, you can see why, because she hasn't eaten in all those parts of ceremony. But I really wanted to go because it's saying yes to a new experience and being able to go and support Madge. And I have met Lynn and just see what all this is about, because it was new. It's not my culture, but being able to be in the forest is my favorite place. At the full moon, awesome. So it's like, say yes. So I did say yes, got all packed up and got up there. And um, first I got signed up to do the night duty for the firekeeper, and a gentleman named Christopher, who also um, has been to services here as well. He stayed up with me, and I got to stay at midnight to 5. And he and I were the firekeepers. And a woman who was there, she was tending the fire, and oh my goodness, she was just amazing in the way she dedicated her focus. And I'm like, tell me about that. And she goes, that's my heart. That's the heart of the mother. You have to keep these rocks covered. You have to keep it perfectly. This is your purpose. Like, okay, this is serious business. And then as Christopher and I were tending the fire, it was just so amazing to look at the rocks, look at the full moon, and listen to the owls and the coyotes and the elk and all the different animals that were out there. It was just extraordinary. And then during the days, I got to hang out with the other old ladies. And other people who were there who were supporting. About 15 people supported Madge and her partner as they went through this. So some were firekeepers, some were cooks, some were offered prayers, just lots of different people who had a very serious purpose about it. And I think the biggest thing that I want to share is I told Madge my word was obligation, because in my life, being the oldest daughter, being a wife, being a mom, being all the things that you are as you're going through life, there's a sense of obligation. And that obligation comes from society, like this is what you're supposed to be like when you're a mom, and this is what you're like when you're a daughter. And it's that kind of power over, right? Because there's so much pressure to be that good person. And as I got to meet all these people that were supporting Madge, it'll make me teary. They were power with. They were power with the mother. They were power with the earth. They weren't doing this for any shiny badge or money or anything. They did this because they support people's spiritual growth in the best way of power with. And it was just incredible to get to do that, and to be able to say yes, and to move um, through washing the dishes and cleaning up and helping, all the things that you do. And everybody was just so gracious and so wonderful. That's the biggest part of my experience. And then as we were going, it's like Lynn says, do you want to go in the fire and you want to get dusted off in the lodge? Okay, never done that. Okay. So we did that. And then came time to dance, because the third day is the hard day, because they want to eat, they want to kind of be done. So they had drumming and singing, and the women were dancing. And it's like, okay, you have to dance with me. Okay, let's dance. So we did that. And then it was time to go. Or do you want to go with me to go get Madge? Of course. And so Christopher and I sang the morning song. And other people did too as we walked up, and they got the partner first, and then it seemed like it'd take forever, and we were singing the song the whole time. So it took a long time, and then we came down to Madge. She looks just like she does right now, just radiant. Like, really? You've been here 4 days, and and she didn't look hungry or tired or anything. It was just crazy. So we gathered up some things and we sang and went back down to the lodge, and they the sponsors did some work with both of them, and then they invited us. And there was some tension, there were some things, nothing went perfectly, but what was perfect was that coming from their heart, and that this was all about spirit and growth, um, and just being part of a spiritual family. So that was my favorite part. And then as you get to process all these things, the other part was each one of these people that I got to meet. Um, David loaned me, or I've been listening to King Arthur, love King Arthur. So it's like the Knights in the Round Table, right? Everybody goes out on a quest, and we're all on a mission to do what we think is important. And the story goes across all kinds of cultures. But I got to be that knight and go out on a mission, and have my quest and come back and tell a story. And it was, if you have a chance to go do it, and if you have a chance to have one of these experiences and say yes, take a risk, because it was way worth it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much
that.
for sharing that.
Yeah,
So powerful.
it is. It is. Everything has so much
It sure
meaning.
did.
Yeah, I came back with all these people at camp. I didn't have any idea who they were, but they had heard there was a Vision Quest. They're part of the Native community, so they just show up when they hear there's a ceremony or Vision Quest. They just load up their tables and their food and their tent, and they drive out and they show up for what they can. Some people for an afternoon, some for a day, some for the whole duration. And if you're a cook, you cook, and if you're a neat and tidy person, you do neat and tidy everybody up. It's beautiful, the community that comes together and participates. And Cheryl had she's does great with that.
When you were talking about the council in the sky, what came to my mind was that every tribe has a council. And there's these wise grandmothers and there's these wise grandfathers, and the women go with the women, and the young go with the men. And before people come together in marriage, they separate them.
Yeah,
You can't,
yeah,
there's rules and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
So
But there's a lot of rules. I have a hard time with all the rules, but I'm doing my best.
The council is
Yeah.
a real thing.
I know it. I get I gotta mind my P's and Q's, otherwise they get me.
White Buffalo,
But
the White Buffalo woman,
and then
she knows about the council.
oh yes,
She
yes.
takes people to the council.
So I got to wrap this up too. But one of the ways in which I come through so well, because I feel just like myself when I come through so far, is I've really fortified myself before I go out. I take my vitamins in the morning before I go out. I take my the next day's dose of vitamins that night before I go to bed, and I hydrate really well. So I'm well nourished when I go out, and I have I can live off the fat of the lamb for quite a while, I just tell you. I could probably live out there for a month and be just fine. Yeah, so I haven't experienced what some people experience, the real weakness and things like that, because I get ready, man. I'm taking care of me. So it's all good. So thank you. And thank you for sharing your story, Cheryl. It's really beautiful. So I'm going to be, due to time, I'm going to skip the meditation today, and we're going to move into our offering of the tour of the home center. And thank you all for your love and support. Thank you. Yeah, I feel well supported by all of you guys. I love being able to share the experiences and bring back what I feel like is going to be universal, sharings and growth and opportunity. All right, so let's put our gift to the home center between our hands. And we're just so grateful that we're already so abundant, and so grateful that we can share whatever we can with the home center and supporting the home center and seeing that energy moving through our facilities, moving through everything that it takes to run the place, and coming back to you and blessing you 100 times of what your wants, needs, and desires are. See it for your highest good. Amen. Okay. I have a few in mind when it comes around underneath my phone.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Yes. And so, I need my phone anyway. Announcements. Oh, okay. No closing prayer. I'm all confused. Now we're doing the closing prayer from the broadcast so that we can come offline with our folks out there. So, Jennifer, come on up.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Madge. This morning I was thinking, oh, I have opening and closing prayer. And so I went to our wellness room to just grab a deck and see for something for inspiration. And so I love this Ask Your Guides. I think many of us have that. I think Joe and Madge gave it to us anyway. And so I thought, oh, I'm just going to pull a card and maybe I'll have some inspiration. And the card was deprivation. And I was like, ugh, I don't really want that one. And, but I read a little bit of it and it said, whether because of a sudden change of circumstances or long held patterns of lack, you may find yourself feeling overly concerned about your finances and security right now. You might be worrying that there won't be enough to meet your needs, so you're trying to conserve every penny. And I thought, oh, that's not the one I want. This sounds kind of like on a low swing. And so put the card back, and I thought, oh, I'll pull out my Game of Life cards, which I'll read in a moment. And this card led me back to read a little bit more of the explanation in the book. And it says, get back into the flow of things. So I had to get interrupted. Your prosperity guides urge you to reconnect to the source by being generous in all ways. Any stingy tendencies, even with yourself, only keep you cut off from divine supply. Reclaim your self-esteem by recognizing that you're a trust fund baby of the universe. Your needs will be met easily if you open your heart to receiving the universe's gifts. Connect to the flow by sharing what you can, a smile, a compliment, your assistance, your time, your prosperity guides message. Tap into the abundance of the universe by sharing your heart. So the card that I pulled was Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. I thought, oh, wow, Spirit, thank you for working in that way. So I'd like to say the affirmation and we can affirm it together. So I'll say it and you can repeat it with me, and that's how we'll close. So Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply.
Open the way for my immediate supply.
Let all that is mine by divine right
Let all that is mine by divine right
now reach me
now reach me
in great avalanches of abundance.
in great avalanches of abundance.
Wonderful. So it is. And we say thank you to our friends online for joining us. From our heart to yours, be blessed.